So today's guest is Anshu Gupta. Anshu, thank you so much for being on our show. How are you?
Good.
Some people call you the pitch maker of the rural and the city. Some people call you the clothing man. I'm just wondering which one tag do you really love the most and why is it so for you?
So I don't know, let people give tag whatever way, because these are like different lenses which people see, and it is beautiful that people have started looking at this work not just with the angle of clothes, because so far I think one of the biggest problem of Goonj has been that large number of people still think that we are in the business of collecting and distributing clothes, because most of them do not understand the core philosophy or the idea
precisely
behind this. So this is good that people have started using different lenses, and people are talking about rural, urban, people are talking about resources, people are talking about dignity, and it's not just limited to cloth or old shoes and all kind of stuff.
Yeah, and in fact, Anshu, that was the question, because the understanding that I had about Goonj was that Goonj as an organization collects clothes and hand it over to people who don't have it. But having visited your center, I was touched at the deepest of my core when I got to know the kind of diverse areas that you're working. You're working in the area of education, you're working in the area of disaster management, you're working in the area of relief, you're working in the area of water management. You're doing a lot of work in the space of sanitary napkins for the women in the country. Before we touch that aspect of the diverse area, I'm just curious, how did Goonj happen to you?
So, one thing which is very important to know about us is that we do not at all hand over material to people. Okay? Rather we have been able to demolish or challenge the very concept of charity. Because one thing which we have been arguing is that there is no place in the world where charity sustained and the development happens.
Charity sustains and development happens.
Because first thing which the charity takes away from you is your dignity.
Precisely.
And if you do not have dignity, and if dignity is not a part of it, you can't even think of development.
Absolutely.
Simple.
Yes.
So this dole out and free distribution and all, it can give you a very beautiful picture for the Facebook and good data, to the government or the corporate or NGOs or individuals. But ultimately it will not solve any problem. The other thing which we challenge is that, there are demeaning words like donor, beneficiary, and then the moment you start calling yourself donor or giver, you create a platform for yourself. And you create a pit for other people.
Person. Okay. Absolutely. There's a divide.
Absolutely.
That here is a donor and here is a receiver.
And especially when you give away your old material like cloth, utensil and all that, we always argued that why do you even call yourself donor? Because at the end of the day, the fact remains that you do not donate. You discard.
The waste that you have.
Okay. Because this is something which you don't need. And that is one of the reasons that 50-60% of your material actually comes absolutely dirty, without buttons, without zip, without sole, all that kind of thing. But whole lot of people, make sure that it is not discard, it's giving. So that's where they really take care of the material and give it to us. But it's still, we say that it is not a donation. It's just giving. And let's be thankful to the people who are using our second-hand material, because if those people do not exist, what are we going to do? And if you see so many other countries which are so-called developed nations, I don't know why they call developed, but in certain aspects they are. If you see what they do with the waste material or what they do with the material which they don't need, we can understand that this is how it operates. So we need to be thankful to every single person who is using our second material. So we just turn around all these concepts.
Beautiful concept. Okay. It's like, I had some waste, you are taking away my waste, and that's creating more space for me to bring more things.
Also, I think the bigger aspect is that something which I don't need, someone else is giving respect to that. Someone else in a way is respecting my hard-earned money. Someone else is giving a second life to something which I don't need. That is the reason we need to be thankful to every single person who is using our second material. And the other important part, I think this is the genesis of Goonj. We said that if you talk about the village people, ultimately they move to the slums also. Biggest asset of village people, not only in India but across the globe, is their self-respect, is their dignity. You don't find beggars in the villages. Begging is a typical city phenomena, and begging happens in compulsion, not by choice.
That's a different perspective altogether.
Even if you talk about slums today, okay, a lot of theories you must have read where people say the slums are the extension of the cities. So we argued. We said, boss, if slums are the extension of the cities, how come people like me and you never go and stay? We all love to stay in the slums. Slums, in a realistic manner, are not the extension of the cities. Slums are the extension of the villages. When you force people, when you do not take care of people, when you do not arrange for even roti, the very basic food or basic facilities, people migrate in compulsion. So that way even I migrated, but I migrated by choice. But if you see 70-80% population of this country, they are migrating by compulsion because we are not taking care of them. But they are very dignified people. So we have no right to challenge their dignity by doing charity again and again.
And you have a beautiful quote around charity as well, that it stirs the dignity of an individual. What's that?
No, so I mean, that's what I'm saying, that charity does not, I mean, one of the biggest problem with charity is that it takes away your dignity. And if there is no dignity, there is no life, there is no development.
Anshu, thank you for bringing this. I belong to a lower middle class family. As a child, I remember I used to get clothes from my elder brother or my elder sister as well. As you were sharing, it stirred something in me.
So, I also come from the similar family. To be honest, most of us, what is called middle class actually used to be lower middle class, you can say. And if you see how it connects, your mom, my mom, and almost everyone's mom, the first lesson she taught us that if you go to a neighbor, say auntie, and she gives you a biscuit or a toffee, don't take it. Then she taught us that if you take it, don't take it twice. Then she taught us that if you still take it, say thank you. See how much of gratitude, self-respect, I mean, that was a part of our upbringing. Today, the moment you see a kid not wearing good clothes, you make that kid a victim of charity. You want to offer an ice cream, then click a picture for your Facebook. So many organizations, so many these, retail chains come to us, they want to organize campaign with us, and the first precondition is that on 15th of July, we need 15 deprived slum kids because Miss India will come and give away toys.
And how do you deal with those?
So we very upfront, we tell them that, out of those 15 kids, 2 kids need to be yours. Your own kid should be there in this.
And how do they respond to that?
The deal is gone forever. And we are absolutely happy with it. Because how long can you treat the kid of someone as the victim of charity because you want to be seen, the good and the doer?
So rather than actually creating the equality in your behavior, you're actually creating more division.
You are. I mean, and this is, you want them to be treated as beneficiaries forever because that's your shop. Because that satisfied your ego and that satisfied your arrogance.
And it's not only satisfying your ego and arrogance, it's actually helping you get more credibility in the market. It's actually helping you to get more business in the market by creating that I am doing this kind of charity. As an organization, we are creating that kind of charity.
No, because there are double standards. So one thing which I often do in all my lectures, whatever hall and auditorium we are delivering a talk, we always tell people that, listen, boss, someone who designs it on a piece of paper, this hall, you call that person skilled. Someone who makes it brick by brick is called unskilled. Who decides? And who the hell are you to say that you are skilled and someone else is unskilled? Because you are still just drawing it on a piece of paper. But you decided that your role for yourself. When I say you means me, people like us.
Yes.
People like us who wear one extra, people like us who can wear good clothes. People like us who can have gestures while talking, who can roam around in the cars.
Precisely. I loved it when you said that, when I asked you this question just before this conversation, that what triggered you to start Goonj, what was the defining moment? I would still come to that question. And when you said that I was so much frustrated with the tie and the suit that I was wearing, I'm sure that would have actually tipped you off. But if you could just share a few instances in your life that happened before 1998 that led to this revolution, this movement, this phenomena called Goonj.
I come from an honest middle class family, and I had honest in that because India has two kind of middle classes. come from the honest one. They're my, and that's a very important part
Yes.
because then you really have to struggle it out.
Yes.
And the two-bedroom house or a two-room house can only happen after retirement, if at all.
If it happens.
If there is some leftover in the PF of your father. So that's how we lived our life. Very beautiful, very fulfilling, but very tough life. By the time I did my 10+2, I had already changed 7 schools, and it was a curve of English, Hindi, or some really beautiful, nice, so-called convent or good public school, whatever you call it, and then suddenly a school where English will be introduced in 6th standard, because in those days in UP, primarily it was introduced. So it was a totally different curve. Good part is that I learned generally how to adjust, how to enjoy, and there was no complaint in life at all. And bad part I don't see any. It's just that it was tough for the family. Then, but because the family had absolutely different value system. I don't remember in my house at least leftover food is being given to the maid. Otherwise, if you see today, when you get up from the dining table and the mother or the father will say ki, isko rakh do, Manju kha legi, keep it, Manju will eat it. So you are actually telling your 4 years old kid that this is how the life operates. So the kid is actually not responsible for that behavior in future.
He's just picking that from his
He's picking it because that's the part of that's how the kid is growing up.
Upbringing and we say that a child learns basic values from his parents and the environment around. So these are the basic values that we speak about.
So we were very lucky to get such set of beautiful parents. One no more. I think I lost them very early, but that was the most beautiful part of our life and the ecosystem. So I remember, and sometimes these things really become so big in your life, and I think it has also become a very important thing in the life of Gunj. So I did my 12th, and then right from the beginning, I was a bit junooni kind of person that you have to do this, have to do this. So in those days, my junoon used to be Chitrahar, Wednesday and Friday. So whatever happens, but I have to be there at 8 o'clock or whatever and see that program, because that was the only program in any case of songs and all in those days. So this is 1997, 3rd June. It was, I think, Wednesday, and I was out in Dehradun on some work. I think we had gone to give rent of the place to our landlord, and it was Chitrahar day. So when I was coming back, I missed the bus, so I took lift on a bike, and then a massive accident happened. And I was admitted in a government hospital, Doon Hospital, and then I remained on bed for 1 year. So 3rd June 87 to 13th April 88, was on bed. Absolutely. So either in hospital or at home. So even when you go to the hospital with a hope that something good will happen, you were actually.
But you could not do anything.
Couldn't do anything. It was a very bad accident. So that was my, to be honest, first exposure to the miseries of people. I was the son of an officer, so I got a private ward, which we decided not to stay in the private ward because of isolation. So I moved to the semi-private on request because I wanted to be with people. But you see the miseries of people, and this is something I'm talking about 30 years back. How the so-called financially poor people are treated. How does it operate? How does this entire racket operate, which has become much bigger in the private hospitals, which used to be, I believe, much smaller in the government hospital. If you talk about the racket of corruption, today the corruption happens through bills and vouchers. It's not like this under the table. So in those days, the bribe cost was 400 rupees to do a correct operation.
Correct operation, you said?
If 400 rupees does not reach the doctor, I only know about a few doctors. I don't know if every single doctor was doing that, but I can only tell you about the ortho department. The operation will not happen. So in my case, obviously the money didn't reach. And morning, the doctor, that shameless doctor, actually asked about it. And my proud parents, and normally, this is a very interesting part, that in India especially, you never say no to bribe. You only negotiate. You say, no, we can give you 300, we'll give you 100 rupees later, whatever. But my proud parents, and because there was a very huge value system, they said no. And I believe doctor had never heard this before that. So he was very furious. And that echoes his dialogue of that particular day, when he actually said कि यदि ये बच्चा मर गया तो आप क्या करें? यदि ये लड़का मर गया तो आप क्या करें?
And you still remember those words?
I still remember, exactly remember. So, and imagine a doctor who is going to operate you is actually saying that if this kid dies, what will you do? And your proud parents say कि फिर वो हमारी किस्मत है. That's the luck.
But we are not going to compromise on the basic values that we stand for.
They didn't. And then somehow the operation happened. Whatever happened in the name of operation, we don't know, because the fact remains that it is more than 3 decades and I am in pain 24 hours. It's a distorted foot. And I do remain in pain in 24 hours. Before sleeping, after sleeping, during sleeping, in the day. And at a certain point, because the kind of life we live and the kind of travel we do, and so many times obviously the pain goes up like anything and it becomes unbearable. And to be honest, that is the proudest moment for me.
Every time it
goes up. Because I always feel that, what kind of blessed person I am. Because imagine, if my parents would have paid that bribe, I would have been standing on a bribed foot. And today I stand on my own.
So that was a bargain between value system and the pain. And your parents chose to stand for the values. And this is where you are.
Yeah, and that time it was a bargain between the value system and the life.
Yeah.
Pain is just an outcome of it. Right? But the proud feeling of being on your own feet is absolutely different. And to be honest, who knew in life that ultimately, if you talk about Goonj today, Goonj's stories are very emotional. But Goonj is a hardcore logistics work. We move 3,000 tons of material from the biggest possible cities to the remotest possible parts of the country. And in India, logistics is equal to.
And I would love to listen to another story that you said was a defining moment of your life. So here, this is the time when we should actually talk to people and say, Goonj is not at all an organization that only handles clothes. Goonj is a phenomenon. I'm very, very mindful when I'm using the word phenomena. It's a movement that's actually reaching out to people without costing dignity for them. Rather, it's giving those people a lot of pride and saying, we are helping you as much as you are helping us.
So, as we always say that the story of Goonj are very emotional, but our work is hardcore logistics. And as we know in India, especially logistics is equal to bribe and all kind of corruption. But I think that particular incident in life has literally taught us that if you can't pay bribe for the foot, how can you pay bribe for the truck or any kind of stuff? Mm-hmm. So this is an organization in the last almost 2 decades.
Yeah. We
haven't paid even a single penny, and it is such huge logistics operation all across the country. We do feel good about it, that at least there is something which is developed totally in a different way, with the same value system which were there in our childhood.
Yeah, so that episode gave you a lot of values to live your life from. And I'm curious, when you started with clothes. And I understand that at one point in time you had only 67 clothes, you and Meenakshi. That's your wife. Why clothes? Because clothing hardly I've heard as a part of the development agenda where people talk.
It is not.
It's
and
not,
that's
right?
The most unfortunate part. 2 of us are sitting not because we are talking to each other. Largely we are sitting because we both are wearing clothes. Why don't we understand that? How do you decide that the person is poor or rich? Unfortunately, you also decide is skilled, unskilled, cultured, uncultured. How do you decide?
Yeah, based on the clothes.
Based on the clothes. And that's so unfortunate. But this is the first visible sign of you, of me, of poverty.
And that's how we judge people.
That's how we judge people.
As you mentioned, it's the first sign of poverty. If I'm wearing clothes which are not in alignment with the latest fashion, then I'm not trendy or I don't belong to
even excess. I mean, you come in absolutely dirty torn clothes. Half the people will not even let you enter in the campus. And the biggest thief can dress up neatly and go inside. I mean, you know all this, Vijay Mallya, all these guys, all these jokers who are making life, and look at the way, the style statement, and they were actually teaching styles to others and what they were doing inside. But on the other hand, if someone is standing, I mean, this is an experiment which I do with a lot of people. I say that your right pocket has wallet and your left pocket has your mobile. On your right, it is Vijay Mallya or someone similar who is standing, And on your left is a person who is not wearing good clothes, he is wearing torn clothes. You are worried about mobile or wallet, and everyone is worried about mobile. Because out there is a person who is the most honest person on this earth, but not wearing good clothes, and your perception goes in a totally different way. So you talk about three basic needs. You say roti kapda makan. But if you talk about development issues, right from Millennium Goals, Sustainability Goals, whatever goals people are defining, you have 150 issues from domestic violence to global warming. Clothing is not mentioned in the subject.
So then, why did you choose clothing as an issue for yourself to address?
To be honest, I mean, as a middle class family, we grew well, and I think we only faced the problem the way every single person used to face in those days, but it was good life that way. But I think one of the turning point also happened in life in 1991. I was doing my mass communication, and that's where in Old Delhi I met a family while doing a story. And then that family, Habib Bhai and his wife, their full-time job used to be to pick up unclaimed abandoned dead bodies. And it was a shocking thing for me, but obviously being a newcomer in the journalism, I spent about a week with them, early morning till late night. Used to roam around on my scooter with their rickshaw. They used to pick up dead bodies, 20 rupees, 2 meter of white cloth per dead body is what they were getting in those days. And that's their full-time job. So, and India has, like any other country, and especially the city of Delhi, like any other big city, has sizable chunk of homeless people. I mean, thousands and lakhs of people remain on road. And a lot of people die due to various reasons. And that's where Habib used to come in picture. When I spent a week with them, two statements really bothered and shook me. One, when Habibbai said that Jaadon mein mera dhanda badh jata hai. He said that in winters my work goes up, and many times I have so much of work that I cannot handle it. Then I found that in winters, every 24 hours, he was picking up 10 to 12 dead bodies, just in the range of 4-5 kilometers, where he was able to take a rickshaw. And summers it used to be 4 to 5. And then his little daughter, Bano Kanis, who actually said कि जब मुझे ठंड लगती है तो मैं लाश के साथ चिपक कर सो जाती हूँ. When I feel cold, I hug the dead body and sleep. It does not trouble me. It does not turn around. So I couldn't obviously understand, although I saw everything.
Digest that.
It's not possible to digest it. And also, again your urban education logic start coming in. You started arguing that no, dead bodies are cold. Because I was not ready to accept the compulsion part of it. And it was silly and it was funny because I saw things myself. I spent a week with the family.
So how old were you then?
I was 20, 21.
So what happened to that small 20-year-old child?
Shocked. Didn't understand that gravity. Even then, because not able to accept, not able to comprehend. Not able to imagine, despite looking.
It does not fit in my mind right now as well. I'm not being able to digest.
It will never be. I mean, in the last, almost more than 30 years, I have repeated that 3,000 times. I still can't believe. But today I have all the reasons to believe, because now we have seen hundreds and thousands of people digging a pit to sleep in winters, going in grass and sleeping in winters, shivering and dying because of cold in winters, because in this country and in this world, more people die due to lack of clothing in winters than earthquake or floods. So it's a highly preventable death because the cold does not kill people. It is a lack of clothing which kills people. Because if the cold kills people, even I would have died on my scooter when I used to roam around with Habiba in those winters.
Would you have some numbers on an average? How many people die?
So the worst part is that if you see worldwide, there is hardly any data available
Yeah.
because these are considered normal death. These are not considered disaster death. Winters are not a disaster at all. But if you see a small figure, that in the range of 4, 5, 6, whatever kilometers where Habib was able to take his rickshaw, if in winters every day he is picking up 10 to 12 dead bodies, and in summers 4 to 5, and if you multiply, you might get a figure which you will not believe. But this is how the society suffers. So that's what we always tell people, that this society suffers because of the non-issues much more than the issues.
real disasters and the real issues.
Because we think, people like us perceive certain things and say that, okay, this is an issue in the life of people. So when the bird flu happened in the country because some people had to sell their vaccine, we forgot that in the same year we had a similar number of deaths because of diarrhea or because of malaria. But for us, bird flu became a fashionable disease to talk about. I think this is how the business molds you. This is how the government policies mold you. This is how our own thought process and biases mold us.
And then there are people who actually questions the integrity and the intentions of the people who are in the kind of work that you are doing.
Yeah, because you can't jump into it. It's not an easy space. When I talk about that girl, okay, I'm not a professor. I'm not a so-called educated person who is just repeating the story of someone. I'm repeating my own story. So every time when I narrate this story, I go through the exact same pain because that girl is sitting here. I can still imagine her. I still have those vague face of her. So it's not an easy, to talk about poverty and to work on that, to live life in villages and to work with the old material people, it's not an easy life. People might think. So that's what we always tell people, that there are two ways of operating. One is that you sit there and keep throwing stones. The second is be a part of it. Come join us.
Then change the game.
Yeah, because whole lot of us crib about bureaucracy. We don't even understand the plight of the honest bureaucrat who are touching the feet of most corrupt political people because of certain.
That's one reality of life.
We all crib about the government hospitals and the corruption, but we do not understand the life of the honest doctors and the staff there in the middle of that entire corrupt pool. Because we never fix ourselves into those shoes, and we see all the people with the same eyes, same lenses. That's the worst part of it.
And the kind of work that you have done, Anshu, it has actually helped you to get so many prestigious awards you are a part of. You've been awarded with the Raymond Magsaysay Award. You've been awarded with the Shaw Foundation Social Entrepreneur of the Year Award. You've been awarded with the Asia's Top 10 Social Entrepreneurs, CNN IBM Real Hero Award, prestigious Ashoka Fellowship Award. You've been awarded the Game Changing Award by NASA as well. So you've gone through so many ups and downs in your life. So on one hand, the society is actually recognizing you for the good work that you're doing. And on the other hand, when you're actually working at the grassroots level, there is a shift that you are going through as a person. Every single day, there is something shifting inside you. Could you recall a moment where you had tears in your eyes, that on one hand I've got the most prestigious award, on the other hand I've got tears? Or something that really touched you at the deepest core of your existence, of who you are as a person?
So, to be honest, it's a very tough time personally. It's a lot of churning happening. And this is something I have started questioning in large number of my speaking engagements, that when I put my hand here before sleeping and I ask myself that in the last 19-20 years, show me 100 faces where the life is changed because of us. I'm still not getting an honest answer. Right? And then you come to this large world of the conference and seminars and data and full-page articles, editorials, and impact articles. And because now I am also part of many juries for the awards, and you see those entries, and then you find a cover page claiming 100,000 lives changed. Almost every cover page, and the governments and so many other NGOs and CSR, they claim much more than that. So I'm really generally trying to understand that in my life I'm not even able to change my own life. By putting 2 hand pumps there, I say we have adopted village. Or in the books we say we have changed 100,000 lives by distributing some pencils or maybe putting some solar power. How do you really make those claims?
What is your measure of changing a life?
No, tell me one thing. I don't know. I don't have any measure because I understand that in this country, a whole lot of us want to see some light at the end of the tunnel, and we are still looking for that. Let me be very upfront, very honest whether people like it or not, because there is no fun in living in false hope or creating false hope for yourself, because you have decided to live in a certain way. And you do want some people, or rather in our dream, large number of people happy, out of the poverty, of the basic abject poverty. But if I see my last 40 years of life or 20 years of this particular work, I've only seen migration or growing, homelessness growing, poverty growing, government hospitals and government schools going in a much worse condition. I've seen how the private sector, so many institutions, right from water is commercialized, to the healthcare is commercialized, to the insurance is commercialized. I have seen how in the last 20 years, just the data says that 3 lakh farmers have committed suicide. So where is that change happening? I mean, how long can we play around with the fake data, or just create those bubbles with the help of the best possible economists and institutions by judging the country on the basis of airports or GDP? So I think that's bothering me a lot.
That shivers you.
That shivers me because all of us want to see something good.
So what was the moment in your life where you were touched and where you had tears rolling down your cheek? And that's where you actually kept your hand on your heart and say, you know what? Am I really deserving of this?
This happens quite often. This happens quite often, even when you travel back to the villages, especially where you worked 10 years back and you have been working and you still want to see some really big change. Okay, because I believe the ecosystem is so distorted, and ultimately the problems are in layers. So I think I can answer it maybe some years later when I am able to shake more people to look into themselves. One thing which I've been doing in hundreds of these meetings and all, I'm asking every single person who wears good clothes to give a pause for a few months, sit in silo or sit together and accept that things are not working the way they should have been working. So I'm not saying that people are dishonest, I'm not saying that there are no resources, I'm not saying that people are not working. I'm only talking about the approaches. I'm only saying that if we take care of the sanitary pad, half of the women health related issues will not happen. Right? I'll give you a very simple example.
Yes.
Sorry, but I'll give you a very simple example. I mean, today you go to a private school. Every 4th, 5th kid you find wearing glasses or chashmas. If you go to a government school, a municipality school, you hardly see any kid wearing glasses. Now, we all know the chances of their eyes being weak are much more. So my question to the larger world is that education is hampering because the teacher-student ratio is wrong, education policy is wrong, or education is hampering because the kid cannot see. Similarly, no one has ever seen truck drivers wearing glasses, although their eyes are very vulnerable. So accidents are happening because a dog comes on the road, or accidents are happening because the truck driver cannot see. The irony is that none of us is actually ready to see those larger, deeper context issues. We are absolutely happy to treat malaria instead of killing mosquito. If people like us, who are the decision makers, who are the policy makers, who decide the fates, the policies, the budget, everything, if we take a pause and say, boss, there is something wrong, things are not working, accidents have only grown. So can we really instead of just spending more money on the illumination of the roads, can we check the eyesight?
Isn't it a question of perspective? The way you are looking at the situation right now, if I'm looking at a situation, I'm saying, oh, let me just do this thing, it would reduce it for some time, but it's not going to eradicate the bigger problem that we are going to address. I think that is what you
It's a technical solution.
It's a technical solution.
It's a technical solution. It's a band-aid.
Yeah, precisely. And the world cannot be cured using the technical solutions or the band-aid as you mentioned.
Especially when the wounds are deeper. It's not a scratch.
Yes.
Okay. These are much deeper wounds.
So help me understand, Anshu, what shift have you observed in yourself as a person, as a human being, which is deeper and which is behind these clothes that we are wearing?
So on one part, I have the exactly same kind of masti, love for food, language, all that is intact. I mean, a lot of my friends and all, they know that, and one of the best compliment which I get from people is that I've not changed, which feels good. On the other hand, I think I'm evolved, for sure. I can see through things much deeper. I can have 10 different angles of that, because the village people especially taught me a lot. The poverty of that, the resilience of that, the masti of villages and the grit of villages. That has taught me a lot. I am also very, very grateful in my life, not only to my family, my parents, my wife, my daughter, but very, very grateful to the most beautiful team which has evolved, hundreds of those people.
And you have a team of 900 people?
900 people are paid by Gunj in whatever way in money.
Wow.
In different aspects, across 12 offices.
Yeah.
But I think it's been such a beautiful team, which is, imagine, working on someone else's ideology, working on someone else's idea is not an easy thing. And a whole lot of people didn't join this place to, as a job, because fine, today people say it's a brand, the certificate has some value, but say 10, 15 years back, 10 years back, we were only the bunch of kabadis. We were only dealing with the kachra of people.
Yeah.
The most useless work which we were trying to do. We were touching shoes on a daily basis. We were evolving, we were developing programs around that. And also we were basically breaking the traditional way of working. I mean, today if you see Gunj's model, nothing goes for free. We work a lot on hardcore infrastructure, water sanitation, where people in the villages are motivated to take their work. So they make bridges, they make roads, they dig well, pond, and then they're rewarded with this material.
And that's your project called the Cloth.
That's the Cloth for Work. That's the core work of Gunj. Or we were the first people to talk about the menstrual hygiene issue, and then came up with a solution for that. So this is something which was evolved around old material, and still those people, in the world joined us, joined this idea, joined this journey, joined this movement. So very thankful to them, and I think I've really, really learned a lot from them. And I think the rest, whatever has happened, the credit goes to parents. It's very easy to go and say someone that you are very honest, without understanding that ultimately the credit goes to the parents, who gave the value system. So the only credit which might come to me and you is that we valued that and we nurtured that. But it is a value system which was given by the parents and the ecosystem.
And this is the time I should tell all the kind of work Gunj is doing. So Gunj is doing, one of the work that touched me is the Cloth for Work, which is one of the flagship initiatives that you have. And that is what this quote made me that I should meet you. And the quote is, I didn't want to give these clothes as an act of charity. Charity strips people of self-respect. And that is the reason I said, you know what, I should meet, because there is something behind the cloth that I'm not being able to see, right, which is not meeting my eyes. The next initiative that you talk about, not just a piece of cloth, and that is where you work in the space of sanitary napkins for the women. School to school initiative, that's where Gunj brings the books and the notepads and the dresses, the uniforms from cities to the rural.
But in a very dignified way. I mean, because we can't treat a child, as I said, the victim of charity. So even the kids and their parents and all, they receive it with a lot of dignity. I mean, they first take care of the schools, infrastructure, whole lot of work and etiquette, behavior, a lot of things we do, and then they're rewarded. So there is a sense of achievement. There is no sense of entitlement. So in our work, if you see, we have just killed that sense of entitlement.
It's a different parallel economy you're building on.
It's a parallel economy.
Yeah, it's not a cash
It's not just
dependent
cash
economy.
driven. I mean, we spend about 20 crore, which also comes from people. That way, it's a very people-driven movement. I mean, this money is also largely coming from individuals and very middle-class kind of individuals also.
So you have two more projects that you work on, Raahat and Green by Goons, right? So what is this Raahat? Is Raahat about the disaster management work that you're doing? Yeah.
And it's a very, very large scale work. And so in many disasters, we are like, not only we operate on a very large scale, but also very deep and very long term. And the reason being that in any case, even without disasters, we deal with material, we deal with logistics, we build up partnerships in the communities, in the development, and we also work remote. So it's like, if you see, you can compare our work with maybe like you lay the optical fiber.
Yeah.
So in that case, we have also laid the pipelines in the country which connects urban and rural.
Wow.
So in the normal course of action, you can do general development activities like making bridges, roads, cleaning water bodies and all, and do that clock for work. Same channel can be used for a school, same channel can be used for Anganwadi health intervention. And the moment a disaster happens, you are not looking for new partners, new ways of working.
You already
laid pipeline.
You already have your network.
So one of the things which I have been asking, and my team has also been asking to people, is that, listen, we have created this huge network of lot of credible organizations, credible work, very deep-rooted work. So we really want many other organizations to use this network. So if you are working on eye care, there is a network which is ready. If you are working on education, there is a network which is ready. We don't need our banners. We don't need our name. I mean, even in my Maxis's speech, very categorically I have said that we are giving you a copyright to copy our ideas. Because we must have made a lot of mistakes but please add your wisdom, add your learning, and take away the idea. I mean, don't take away the name of the initiatives and mess up with that, but take away the ideas. So there is no copyright on that. So we want now this entire stuff, this entire work of 20 years to be replicated in a much bigger way, and we want this channel which we have created to be used for many more issues which we can't do. Because we as an institution can only do this much.
Yeah. So just curious, there's so much work happening in the disaster management already. So how is that work different from the kind of work that you are bringing? What is your...
It's a totally different approach.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't call disaster at people victim. I think so that mindset is not there. Give away whatever you have. We have really mapped in a very decent way in our normal life that what is needed where and at what phase. That's number one. So our normal entry is after a week or 10 days. By that time, all the babas and the politicians and the media is gone, and the real misery starts. That's where we enter, and we enter in a big way for a long term, because disaster also gives you an opportunity to know the place, the geography, and the communities much better, and the deep-rooted issues also. So that's an opportunity for you to reach out and work on those issues also.
Yes.
Right? So even if menstrual hygiene was not an instant disaster hit subject, but it was not a subject at all. It is important for us to introduce
address that
post disaster. And plus also the biggest difference is that we match the need of people, because one of the biggest problem with disaster relief is that you give what you have. You don't give what people need. So if you saw Odisha cyclone 1999 and you said you found that every single person was eating rice. Couple of years later in Gujarat earthquake also, we all sent rice without understanding that people of that area do not eat rice.
And that is where I think Goons is doing phenomenal work.
I
had an opportunity to visit your center, and that's where you had got dedicated departments where everything is coming and then getting divided. That this would go in this so and so city, this would
we
go.
match the need. We match the needs, And the other very important part is that our disaster relief and rehabilitation model is basically is absolutely full of dignity, because even the relief material is not given like charity, because every disaster comes with a lot of destruction. And by the time the government schemes will come and the infrastructure will improve, it takes years and months. So what we do, we get into repairing roads, cleaning water bodies, and all that hardcore work which is largely very badly affected by the disaster, and then start working on that. So communities we get involved, and repair those, build up those, and then people are rewarded with that material. So even by while taking disaster relief material, there is a sense of dignity that I am not a victim and someone is just rolling up.
I've actually earned this. I've actually earned this. And you know what? This is where that's the question that I often ask my friends and people that I get in conversation with. And when people tell me that only if I've got more time, I would do this work. Only if I've got more time, I would invest time on eradicating poverty in the country or investing more time on education. And that's where I ask them, okay, when would you own this? Here we come across people like you who actually took a stand when there was nothing working in your favor. And that is the reason I think every time when I get into this kind of conversation, it's so enriching for me. I can't tell you. I think I'm blessed to get in touch with people like you, and helps me get so many perspectives. And that actually broadens my view of looking at the world, that okay, the world is not only about corporate or wearing good clothes, and it's not about donating. Donating comes from a space of that I'm better than you. So
it is.
So it's a different shift in the mindset. It's a very different shift in the mindset. Anshu, the last question here. If you were to make a shift in yourself that will allow you to create even deeper difference in the society and the world that you want to create, what shift would that be?
I think I need to spend much more time in the villages with people. I think of late that is missing, because I got very busy and sucked up in the lectures and talking to people. But I think to do something much bigger, deeper, it's very important to learn more. So because I don't read at all, and I don't want to read much. I want to experience it. I want to, and you need to understand that my lenses are also changing with time. So what I saw 20 years back, 15 years back, 10 years back, my lenses will be different, this time. And more than my own lenses, I would like to see the world from the lenses of people. And that is something which, over a period of time, I have learned a bit. So I think I'm a better person right now to see it in a much deeper way. The most important part in this also is that I do want to build up a very large scale people's movement, and we are working towards that. And normally whenever you talk about movement, you think that movement is always against something. We are trying to build some movement which is for something. And by using the collective power of millions of people we have worked with now, and for their own development, of in the smaller pockets and all that. So I think time to come, but it will be released. We'll let you know. Join that.
And thank you for talking about the shifting in the perspective, which is the need of the hour. And I think perspective shifts everything. Perspective shifts everything. The way I'm looking at a problem right now and the solution that I would come up with would be very different. So the last question is, Anshu, there are so many social entrepreneurs you would come across. And most of the young social entrepreneurs that I come across, they've got high regards for you. High regards for you. People will send bundles and bundles of wishes to you as I was talking to you. People send a lot of hugs to you. Okay. And so if you would give them one message, that what are the things that they need to take care of right now that will help them to create a sustainable organization that would add value to the nation that we are building together?
I think they all need to move out of this crappy word of sustainability. Measuring success in numbers. It's a scrap. It is created by some people who, many of them couldn't do much, in the social space earlier, but now they are advocating all that. I'm being very upfront because ultimately you need to be a dreamer, a positive dreamer, and you need to work on it. So what matters ultimately is your perseverance, is your ability to take risk, and is your ability to challenge the status quo that, this is the way things are working, and maybe I can work in a way which might be better, and I have all the chances to fail, but that's absolutely fine. So I personally feel that all these short-term, long-term courses, all these intellectual debate of either or, business entrepreneurship is good or social entrepreneurship is good, or he is a social worker or a social entrepreneur or a social reformer.
Yeah.
I think this is a game of some intellectuals who are not there in the field.
Yeah.
It's very simple. So I would want at least hundreds of those people whom I know or I work, and I'm blessed that they send me hugs and all. I think so. My advice is something I always tell them also, that I think just be on your own, whatever you want to do, and even if the funding agencies do not look at you, there are masses, okay, who have been able to stand with a whole lot of us, because they give you freedom, they give you enough space to experiment, and all of us need to do that instead of just succumbing to these awards and recognitions and seminars and conferences and speaking opportunities and clicking pictures.
There's life beyond than that.
Life beyond that, because our role is to look for and then kill those mosquitoes which are troubling people. My role is not to claim these many lives change. Fine, if you are working, you will in any case create some data. Every single person who is working will create some data, but that data cannot be the end thing.
So thank you so much, Anshu, for spending your time, your precious time with us. I know that you had a lot of meetings lined up for you, and then also you could spend this quality time with me. This reminds me of that a friend he often asks me, Gaurav, what do you care about? What is your message to the world? And I don't have an answer to that. There are people like you who are actually living the answer to the question, what is your message? So thank you so much for...
so I have an answer to that.
Yeah.
To be honest. When you were talking about this, that people say that if they have time and all. So one thing which is very important, especially in this country, is that largely people use logic for not doing something. Doers never look for a logic, because a lot of people are looking, basically using logic. So I'm talking about this country right now, although this is a situation in the entire world, that this country, at least this world at least, does not need thinkers anymore. Right?
We need doers.
We need doers. We need action. Because so many people have already thought a lot. Even if we work on 10% of that, we can really achieve a lot. There is like dictionary. There's like everything of that. It's extremely important for people not to talk about either or and only talk about and, because if I see that this is good in education, let me just take it up. If I see this can solve problem of water, let me do that. But just come out of this entire useless game of either or, this is good or that is good. Whatever you think is good, just apply that. Because there is enough space. And then no thinker right now, for at least few years, is only doing.
So thank you so much for giving this beautiful quote at the end of this conversation, that we don't need thinkers, we need doers. It's time to own this. And once you're able to own that, you will do anything and everything possible to make that happen. So thank you so much.
Thank you
for your time.